How you doing? Appreciate you for tuning in. Hopefully you're having a good day. Now, look, if you've looked at the calendar, you know the NFL season is quickly approaching. First stop, got training camp. Patriots training camp gets underway Wednesday. I believe it's Wednesday through Saturday. With training camp comes position battles, comes storylines, comes all that. You know, who's getting what snaps, all that. And I kind of wanted to just go through, give you my thoughts on like 5 training camp battles, questions, storylines, whatever, that I will be paying attention to. Now, not being in the Foxborough area, as you know, as I am down in Atlanta now, I will be, watching videos on recaps and everything that went on during the training camp. So these are the things I'll be listening for. And when they post like videos and stuff, that I'll be watching for when training camp gets underway. Now, you'll have to let me know if you agree, if there's maybe a camp battle that you're highly anticipating, because I do think there are a couple that, could be really interesting. So I think the first one I want to go with is more of a storyline. Stephon Diggs. We learned he's not going to be on the pup list, which means he plans on being ready, and the team thinks he'll be ready week 1. Well, I guess if you're on the pup, you have to sit out until week, is it 6? So they expect him early in the season, even if you missed like the first game or something. But he's expected to be ready to go. So obviously with training camp, that means how does he look? Like we've seen him running on the field before, he looks good. Like will he look even better, even smoother, whatever? I know Diggs has talked about that he's been really getting into the playbook because we know with Josh McDaniels back, his playbook is seen as complex with the option routes and everything. Diggs said he's making sure he learns it inside and out. That way he can help the like young receivers and anything and everybody else learn it as well. So Diggs is definitely still leaning into this being a leader in the wide receiver group. I'm not mad at it. I love hearing that. The off season with the video and everything, a little rocky, but seems like he's locked into football mode now. And I just want to see, how does he look running routes like with the little side sessions with, the younger wide receivers, how many of those is he having? Who's he talking to the most? Stuff like that. I'm here for all the little updates on that. That's my first one. Second one, sticking with the offense, the O line. I want to know which group is getting like first team reps, who's maybe splitting reps on the O line. Cause I do think there are a couple of positions that could be up in the air. It might not get decided until we get out of, preseason or whatever. So when I look at the group they have now, my assumption, well, no, I mean, look, it's a guarantee. Will Campbell is going to be left tackle. That set in stone. Don't worry about that. Left guard, is it Cole Strange? I guess. That is where he was drafted. I guess they'll probably give him first shot at it as long as he's healthy, which has been an issue with him. But is that a position where one of the young guys who were being drafted last year could factor in, like a City So, a Layden Robinson? Could they be battling Strange for that spot? The center position, they did get Garrett Bradbury in the offseason. They did draft Jared Wilson. Is that a camp battle that is about to take place? Yeah, right guard, I feel like Onwenu is kind of set in stone there as well. And then right tackle, I'm assuming it's Morgan Moses, who, will definitely be the veteran leader with that group. And, Doug Marrone. Doug Marrone's going to be in the spotlight this season. The O line was not great last season. Marrone is supposed to be an O line like guru. So if we see a vast improvement with this position group, Doug Marrone's going to have to get a lot of credit, as well as obviously the additions of Campbell, Moses, and Bradbury or Wilson, because Strange and Onwenu obviously have been around. So I want to see how the O line starts to shake out. Like I said, training camp's not going to be the end all be all for this group, because the group just needs time together. Continuity is usually the best thing for O lines to be the most effective. So this is kind of where it starts. Next one, I'm sticking with the offense again, because looking at last season to this season, the offense had the biggest question marks. So offense now, the wide receiver group. So Diggs not being on the pup list obviously takes that spot that somebody could have used as like an audition for the first few weeks out of the picture. So Diggs is locked in. You feel like Hollins is locked in, and you feel like Pop Douglas, who's the best of the young group on the team. Kyle Williams, I'm going to say he's probably set in stone because of where they took him and kind of the potential role he could fill in a McDaniels offense. Because McDaniels, obviously, we know, loves kind of the shifty slot receiver guys. Could Kyle Williams factor into that? I think Kyle Williams can play a little on the outside as well. So the versatility, I think Williams is your fourth guy. Fifth spot, is it Kendrick Bourne? Kendrick Bourne had his best season in New England when McDaniels was there. So McDaniels probably will be leaning on a guy like Bourne and Hollins. Hollins had some experience with McDaniels out in Vegas. So that's 5. Now, most teams carry 6 or 7 wide receivers. So if that's the case, that means Booty, Polk, Baker, and Chisholm, who, Chisholm kind of burst on the scene in OTAs and everything like that. He was he the highest paid undrafted free agent. So clearly the team thinks highly of him. And is this now the beginning where Chisholm possibly steals a spot from one of these guys who were drafted last season? So let's say Chisholm continues the momentum and becomes your 6th guy. Does that close off the wide receiver group? Or does the team now look at it and go, all right, so between Booty, Polk, and Baker, we'll keep one of them. And the other 2, whatever. Maybe try to get him on the practice squad, something like that. Or do they look at Chisholm and say, we'll put him on the practice squad and try to keep 2 guys? I think that's going to be some of the fascination with, the updates and the videos. Now, looking at that group, I said it before, I'm not ready to give up on Polk, because I said before as well, I think it's unfair to judge a lot of these rookies, well, I guess second-year guys now, based off of last season, because last season was just in such disarray that I don't know how to evaluate a lot of these guys. That includes Drake May. So, I mean, Booty seemingly has the best connection with Drake May of the 3. Feels like the way that they talked about these guys last season, Baker has the highest ceiling of the 3, but his floor might be the hardest to realize. I don't know. Baker just seems like he's gonna be out no matter what. It's just whether or not he's like a practice squad guy or what. I don't know. He seems like the guy who's the furthest behind it would need to absolutely outshine the other 2 by leaps and bounds. Like I said, Booty seems like he has the better connection with May, which should work in his favor. Polk was the highest drafted of the three. So that something needs to be said for that. That's why I feel like the wide receiver group is kind of fascinating. I also don't think the wide receiver group is as bad as like some of these experts are making them out to be. Because I think ESPN did like their wide receiver group rankings or something like that, and the Patriots are like high 20s, I believe. I think, yes, there are a lot of guys that are unproven, but I don't think it's that terrible of a group if the McDaniel system obviously works for them. May's progression, I think, and the improved offensive line, I feel like a lot of these guys could show better next season. Now, let's go to the defense. And I'm looking at the linebacking position because I think the defensive front, you're going to get Keon White, Barmore, and Williams. So I feel like that's set. The linebacking group, I think, could be, you could look at as maybe the deepest group. So, who starts kind of in the middle? I think on the outside, assuming they run 3-4, on the outside, you're looking at Landry, probably Jennings, because Jennings had a underrated season last year. So I'm looking at the interior linebacking position, where you have guys like, Christian Ellis, the newcomers from the offseason, Spillane and Gibbons. You have Tavai, who remember when they were kind of cutting guys in the offseason. A lot of people thought Tavai was going to be one of those who got cut. He's still around. Not to say that he makes the team or anything, but he's going to training camp, so there's still a chance. And Mapu, I kind of want to see what do Vrabel and Williams and all the defensive coaches think of Mapu, because Mapu obviously drafted, smaller school, seen as like a Swiss Army knife type of defensive weapon. So does Mapu kind of factor into the linebacking group, or just how do they utilize him? Is his spot on the team in jeopardy? Because obviously Vrabel has no connection with him, is not beholden to him in any way. So Mapu is a guy who could factor into the inside linebacking group somehow. Maybe Mapu's the type who pushes a Tavai off the roster. Bentley, I was trying to think of. Bentley's the guy that they cut. I don't even think Bentley caught on anywhere else, but that's neither here nor there. So could Tavai be out the door? Mapu get a somewhat of a role in the linebacker group? I don't know. That's an interesting one there. And then my last one. This is special teams. Probably not that, exciting or anything. I'm looking at the kicking position. They went and drafted Borregales. Is he out of Miami? He was seen as one of the only two kickers draftable. I believe he was one of the only two kickers that were drafted. Strong leg. I believe he's kicked at a big school. Is he finally the guy that they can draft and who can lock down the position for the next few years? It seems like not since Gostkowski have they had somebody do that. Nick Folk has had multiple years with the team, but Nick Folk was an older guy. They tried Rohr Wasser, they tried all these other guys who none of them, really stuck. They brought in like Joey Slice types. Is Borregales the guy that just makes kicks consistently? Has the leg, is accurate. Like, is he finally the guy that they can just finally just say, we got our kicker, next few years, we don't have to worry about that. We'll trot him out there, whether it's 40 yards, 50 yards, and feel confident that this guy can boot them through. Now that we won't know until the season starts, but if we start seeing reports from training camp of him missing kicks, I think Patriots fans will let out a loud groan and go, here we go again with the kicking position. So those are the 5 that I'm looking at. Once again, Borregales locking down the kicking position, the inside linebacking battles, who emerges as the top pairing, the wide receiver group. First off, are they carrying 6, 7, and how many of the young 3 in Polk, Baker, and Booty show out well and carve out a spot on this team? Is it 1? Is it none? 2? What if you get all 3? Which means one of these vets would probably go, whether that's Bourne or, yeah, I don't know. The O-line, how is it configured? Who's at left guard, which I think might be the biggest question. Is it Cole Strange finally? And center, Bradbury or the young guy, Wilson. And then Diggs, not on the pup list. How's he moving around? Those are the 5 I got for you. Would love to know if you agree with those 5. If there's one that you think maybe is a bigger deal than the 5 I have, let me know in the comments. Want to hear from you. Really appreciate it. In the description, there'll be a link to the Discord. If you want to talk more sports with me, join the Discord. I'm in there every day, usually, posting something, talking about something. So if you want to join that conversation, click that link in the description, join the Discord. Let's have some fun over there. But I'm going to get out of here. You enjoy the rest of your day. Be safe. God bless. And I'll catch you next time. All right. Bye.